Well, hello! It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks that I've been using throughout the week. So let's dive into it. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, what kind of reader are you? We're going to talk about that here in a bit, kind of inspired by my little highlighter video earlier this week. So let's take a look at some pens, then we'll talk about reading. Alright, so these are the pens I've been using this week. So the Cross Wanderlust got used up. And I am now using my Pilot Justus 95, which is a fun pen. I'm using my Visconti Gold Point number 1. I am using a vintage Cleo Skribent. I am using an Omas Ogiva Dolcevita masterpiece. Senator President, so we're going to get both two political offices out of the way in one. Might even mention a little politics slightly tonight. We're going to use my... sorry, I just noticed it. Whoop, tippy! None of the others... Oh, this one wants to do it. None of the other... Okay, I lie. The Omas wants to rock. So, the Platinum 3776... And finally, a platinum pocket pen. I mentioned this an issue that we'll be talking about in an upcoming video. But anyway, I just wanted to mention this pen is not the straightest pen in my collection. Okay. And yes, a solution to that is coming. I'll be doing a video on it. Well, I'm not sure when the video will be, if it's going to be part of a Pens in Use or a standalone. Decide. So we'll do our writing sample in this cognitive surplus theory notebook. First pen, put the cap on, is this Pilot Justus 95. I've noticed with the camera I used just briefly for this, the focus would kind of jump, so I'm kind of curious. I got to pay more attention to this one now when I edit, see what this one does. But you can see it's got a very nice texture on it. I uncap it. It has a very interesting nib, because oh my gosh, what is that? So it's a little cantilever that I can adjust between hard and soft. So right now it's soft. Here's hard. And I love that on this camera I can show that. Now, if I'm going to do a lot of close-up work with this camera, I need to get a better lighting system. But, for what I'm doing right now, that's good enough. Okay, so let's take a look. So Pilot Justus 95. Yes, that's how it's spelled. Mine is a fine, which is why I'm kind of liking this for daily writing type of stuff. I have, of course, let's do it in hard. I have Omas black in it. Railroaded. I think that's unrelated. Alright, so Omas black. I do almost everything soft with it. Sometimes when I'm writing math is about the only time I want to do it hard. And you'd think after somebody who just said that sentence out loud would remember he teaches teenagers all day. And if you need me to explain that to you, just be thankful. Okay, so there is... I can't believe I just said that. Alright, there we go. Fun little nib, a nice daily writer. I enjoy this. You know, it's a screw cap, which isn't my favorite for a daily writer, but it works. Then we get to my Visconti gold point. One of my concerns has always been... Oh, come on. There we go. Yeah, the facets don't line up real well on this. But other than that, beautiful finish. Let's see. Opera. Because kind of reminds me... Oh, gold point. It kind of reminds me of the Visconti Opera Elements Air, which if air is that color, we're in trouble. But anyway, just a very nice pen. And I enjoy the ink that's in it right now. Do you match your ink to your pen? I do sometimes, not all the time. This time I apparently am. So this is Herbin. Lidete. Which is a very nice brown. And I'm somebody who didn't used to like brown ink. But I do like this one. I don't have a lot of brown ink. I think I have a bottle of Pelican smoked quartz. And that's it. Oh no, I bet I have one or two others, come to think of it. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I'm coming back to this ink. So I did a little work on the white balance for this week also, because that was an issue I noticed last week. So hopefully that's better this week. We'll find out soon. This is my Cleo Skribent vintage. I have a modern one with a steel cap. I am not sure that I really know the history of this company. So I'm going to have to do some research. Because this is a pen I've never actually done a video on, as I discovered. I think it deserves one. And maybe a rodeo where I compare it to the more modern one. So this is a Cleo Skribent. So now we're going to see how this does with color. On the preview it looks better. So when I edit later I will know for sure. This is a violet ink. This is actually not Pelican. This is or pale. Anyway, I got criticized for how I was saying it, and I don't know. People do make a big deal out. Sometimes it's just a I am so superior to you. Sometimes it's a legitimate desire to correct. Sometimes it's a desire for information. Sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes they're right. I seem to get in the most trouble with words that are in French, but, you know, words that are in different languages, we don't always say correctly, or we may say differently in a different language. And I've always been one that I just kind of let it go. Alright, then we get our Omas Ogiva cocktail, which is just a stunning pen. I remember when, this was years ago, but Brian Goulet took a tour of the Omas factory, back when Omas was still a going concern. I guess they're back, but it's not quite the same company, and I don't really want to rehash that today. Too late, you just did. But anyway, this is a lovely extra flexibile nib. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Ebonite feed and all that. So this is the Omas Ogiva. Medium extra flexibile nib, and the ink is a very dirty, I can't believe how dirty this pen was, Sailor Jentle Apricot. I should look through my old pens in use to figure out what actually was in this pen before that I didn't clean out so great. Then again, I don't really care. But something that makes it more of a muddy orange rather than the bright, intense orange that Sailor Gentle Apricot usually is. So yeah, if the color is fixed... Ooh, what just fell on the floor? Oh. A possible upcoming video just fell on the floor. Don't worry, it's like a $4 pen. Okay. And we get to the interesting Dolcevita masterpiece. What's that you say? That's a lot of name for a pen. There you go. And there's some more crap. So, mine isn't even a big one. So, it's a a cartridge converter filling pen with a steel nib and a piece of gold glued to it. That's their fusion nib. Dolcevita masterpiece. And this is from a time when I was more interested in the newer pens. I will just be honest, I'm not so interested in them anymore. There's a few. This one's nice enough, but I just have less interest in them. The ink in this one is Herbin, Bleu Myosotis. And I can see it's starting to dry out. It may have been in this pen a bit long. So I'm going to have to write extra with this pen this week and get this ink out of it and get the pen cleaned up and get something else inked up. It's been a nice blue. It has been a very long-lasting bottle of blue. I cannot believe how long I've been writing with it, trying to get it empty. So it will be kind of a celebration when I get there. That's an ink I'll probably remember. I don't know if I'm going to replace it with another one like this when I get my next bottle of blue, but maybe. So I showed you last week, this is my Senator President, Ukrainian Ministry of Coal. I had a comment from a viewer from one of my Pens in Use videos. They said that thanks to me, they figured out this pen brand that they ran into in Europe. Yeah, that one. Senator. Senator is still around. They aren't making pens like this anymore, as far as I know. But they are still around. So this is a broad nib, and the ink in it is the very nice Lamy Turquoise, which is a attractive ink. And it can have a little bit of sheen to it, as I've discovered. Kind of a reddish sheen, which is an interesting contrast to the blue ink. So maybe you can't tell yet, but when I do these cross hatches, one is supposed to show kind of the oblique nature of the nib, if there is one. This nib definitely has a stub nature to it. Okay, so when I get some time, I'm going to film a video. I'm thinking like, those small repairs you keep putting off type of video. Yeah, there you can see it's not totally straight. And I'm going to fix this mess. Because that's been an irritation since I bought the pen. And sometimes it's totally stuck on, which doesn't make sense. But anyway, this well-cured celluloid or whatever. Every time I think to myself, oh, I should look at another platinum celluloid pen, Well, first of all, my lack of interest in modern pens has helped mostly cure that, but I still would like the jade finish, but then I think, oh, no I don't. So the ink in this is De Atramentis. Red Roses, which is just a nice red. And it smells like roses. Just a very nice red. I enjoy it. I think it's attractive. It spreads a little much for my taste in paper, but not over much. I just really enjoy it. And the final pen of the night. The final pen of tonight is this Platinum pocket pen. Well, it's kind of squared off down here. We got some platinum stuff there, and that's about it. Uncap it. There you go. So we'll call it the Platinum Pocket Pen. I was going to look up. I'm wondering if it was called the Platinum Mini, but I don't remember for sure. So we'll just go with Platinum Pocket Pen. I don't know what that nib size is either, but it sure looks like a broad. But anyway, the important thing is, well, not the important thing, but a thing is, this is in an Akkerman. Do it down here. Groenmarkt Smaragd. One of the things I have not liked with this pen is I can't fit the platinum converter in it. It's too long. So I'm stuck using a platinum cartridge, which, isn't the end of the world. I just refill it with a syringe. And it did hold a satisfyingly large amount of ink. Like I visibly could see the level of ink in the bottle go down. But I'll be honest, this is an ink I'm ready to be done with. It's a pleasant enough green, but when I buy my next bottle of green ink, whenever that is in the far, far future, this ain't gonna be it. There's greens I like a lot better. So anyway, those are the pens and inks I've been using, other than a highlighter, which I was going to bring home so I could film that in here, but you'll see in a moment why I wanted to talk about highlighters. So let's talk about highlighters. Well, hello. Editing me here. This whole discussion at the end was supposed to be like 5 minutes tops, and so I just wrote like a line to talk about highlighting articles in active reading. And boy, did that open up a stream of consciousness, and I edited the worst of my rambles out, but oh boy. So I think this deserves a driving video. Maybe a well-researched one, maybe just a off-the-top-of-my-head one, but I think it's going to become more with a script. So look forward to that. But yeah, I found the whole topic very interesting the more I talked about it, but I was also talking about it at about bedtime, so my filter wasn't quite there. So, like I said, edited out the worst of it, and hope you enjoy. So, if you don't, turn it off now. There we go. So those are the pens and inks I've been using this week. You might notice the lights. Oh, you can't see that cord. The lights are still up, but they're not on. I actually started filming and then... Oh yeah, lights. So there you go. Last hurrah of the lights, I think. I can feel that it's time for them to come down because it didn't bother me that they weren't on. So lights are coming down. But anyway, I wanted to talk about reading tonight. Now, there's several kinds of reading, several reasons for reading. If I read a fiction book, a major piece of it is usually entertainment. I'm trying to read a Stephen King book right now called Fairy Tale for entertainment. I have a certain number of books I will read every so often that I call junk food. Just like real junk food for the mouth, this is junk food for the brain. It's not particularly edifying, but it scratches an itch and is filling. So, yeah, I'll read junk food novels. But then you have informational stuff. Now, sadly, the way I place this chair now and film everything, you don't get a good view of my books. And this is for those of you who've seen the tours of my bookshelves before, this is a small subset of my books. But, you know what, back when I was filming closer to it, I would often get comments from viewers about books over my shoulder. And that was always kind of fun. So sometimes I have books that are there just for reference. Like I have not read all the physics books cover to cover because they're physics books and I'm not going to read them cover to cover, even though that's where my degree originally came from. I do kind of have a fantasy of reading the Feynman lectures cover to cover, but even those maybe not. But anyway, so I'm not even talking that, but I am talking informational stuff. Now, so for example, what do I have here? I've got, and I'm just grabbing 3 at random. Oh, let's grab 4, then I get I have a Carl Sagan book already. So that's awesome. So I've got a book here called For White Folks Who Teach in the Hood and the Rest of Y'all Too, which I have not read. Not Seeing God, Atheism in the 21st Century by Jonathan M.S. Pierce, I guess. Actually, I don't think that's by him. I think he's an editor. And then I have Carl Sagan, The Demon Haunted World. So those are just to hand. Typically, this bookshelf that's over here doesn't have fiction on it. So taking those as just random examples, because I pulled them out. The Demon Haunted World, I read that kind of in the same vein I would read really deep intellectual fiction. I want to get educated, but not necessarily to take notes. I did take some notes on the way, and that's what brings me to this video. So earlier this week, I did a small video on a Kaweco fountain pen highlighter. Now, highlighters are nice when you're reading along. You can want to remember that. Oh, that's important. That's kind of cool. You know, highlighters are good for that. It flags it on the page and whatever. I don't like doing that on paper, like in a book. My Demon Haunted World, other than being a little curved from the way the shelf is not marked up. Pages are a little yellow, but that's age. I don't write in my books. I have been known to put Post-its in them. I have... there they are. A new pack of Post-its right here. They're not named brands, so let's call them sticky notes. I have been known to do that. Flag the pages, write some notes on that flag. Sometimes I'll just put the little page flags in. Other times, I might actually pull out a piece of paper or a notebook and write page 47, and here's some stuff that came out of it. Kind of depends on my need. I have known people to go through and underline with pencil, and then they'll scribble notes in the margin. I've known people to underline with ballpoint, highlight, underline with fountain pen. All different combinations. I have this weird thing about not liking to write in a book. But it did get me to thinking. Some of the conversation was, of course, Kaweco has totally forgotten the purpose of a fountain pen and that kind of thing. And I don't really want to go there, but it did get me to thinking about active reading. Because it's real easy, and I'm guilty of this, to turn on a program or a movie through streaming, because I don't have cable or a satellite or anything. And you get to the end and you're like, wait, what? What just happened? because you weren't really paying that much attention. I've been very guilty of that over the years. I am guilty of reading the same way. You sit at a talk and, oh, wait, what? It's over? Sit through a lesson or whatever. Yeah. So one of the things I do to help myself pay attention, and I don't do this with movies, so the movie needs to actually hold my attention, is I will take notes. So if it's actually worth it, I'll take notes. And I'm going to call that part of active reading. Now, active reading, you don't have to physically write the notes. You can verbally say, okay, now what, not verbally, but mentally, you can say to yourself, what have I just read? Summarize it. Just taking that active role in reading, I take an active role by questioning what I'm reading. And that's where you say, wait a second, that can't possibly be true. I'm going to fact check that. Or, what is your evidence for this? Or, whatever. It's taking a critical role. Maybe it's, oh boy, I really need to evaluate my opinion on that subject. So active reading doesn't necessarily have to be written. And not everything we read has to be actively read. Sometimes I just want to slip on a movie, relax because it's too early for bed and I'm too tired to do anything super active. Sometimes I just want to read something. A lot of news can be read with only half attention. Not all of it, and sometimes it's good to pay some good attention. So I will tell you a little something about myself. I like to walk. I've been trying to get a good half hour in the morning. I don't like to walk in ice. I've just decided that if I walk in ice, I will, at the speed you're walking into trying to get in shape, I'm going to slip and I'm going to fall and I'm going to break something, and then I won't be walking because something will be broken. And my car has a standard transmission, so if that's something that's broken happens to be a leg, I'm out of luck for driving. So, I have typically kind of quit walking in the morning over the last couple of years. When the ice appears. So this year, I realized I have a whole school and hardly anybody except maybe one or two janitors is in it yet. So I've been walking indoors in the school in the morning, and I get some stair climbing in that way, which is a good thing. And oh my God, I hate it. It's awful walking in that building in the morning. Outdoors, I'm grand. Indoors, not so much. So anyway, I started, I subscribe to The Economist. I don't get the paper copy, I just get the electronic. And usually I'll listen to that like in the car or sometimes when I'm cleaning at home or whatever. So I started listening to that. I do actually own AirPods. I'm hip. These aren't the new AirPods. They're the old style ones. But I do own AirPods. And I'll listen to them while I'm walking. So I'll listen to The Economist while I'm walking because they record all their articles. And that's worked. I actually pay decent attention to it. My mind will wander at times. But I like how The Economist gets how their focus is somewhat less on the stupid trivia and the outrage bait of that you see with some other news outlets. Whoops. Okay, so that was totally unintentional. I flipped this open and all of a sudden it says AirPods, yes or no, and then I was disconnected from the camera. Okay, so don't fidget with the AirPods anymore. Anyway, so where's that fall? A little bit better than, my junk food reading. A little bit better than my typical news, because I'll scan the headlines, read a handful of articles, maybe only part of the article, in the morning as part of my getting ready for work routine. I just want a general idea of what's happened in the world. I appreciate that The Economist looks at it more from a weekly view, so you get away from the sensation of, oh, I gotta be first, I gotta be first, I gotta be first, because they're not going to be. And they spend a little more depth, and I appreciate that they get into parts of the world that my other news sources typically ignore. So I've enjoyed that. Other times, when I read that kind of news, though, okay, so President Lula of Brazil is very popular, but his party is less popular. That was one of the articles this week. But is it important to take notes on that? Or do I just want to pay enough attention that I kind of have a clue what's going on with Brazil when I hear about Brazil on the news? What's his name? Keir Starmer was in The Economist. Who's the other one? It doesn't matter. Probably Justin Trudeau. He was in the news even here in the United States. Anyway, it's a different kind of reading. So I guess what I'm coming down to, instead of... I've kept babbling enough that the camera tried to shut down once. How do you... I realize we all have our different levels of reading. And so, since this is a fountain pen channel, I'm curious how my viewers go about it when it's something they actually want to put in the written form somehow. Do you highlight? Do you flag pages? Do you put in sticky notes with some notes on them? Do you do it in a separate notebook? Do you do a hybrid? Maybe, I don't want to highlight, but I will underline. I often will read an article on the computer, and I'm more likely to view that as more junk food. I used to always just zip them over to Evernote, where there is such a backlog of articles there. God, I'll never read them all. But I now can zip them over to my Remarkable Pro tablet. And yeah, I can read them, and it's kind of nice to highlight and just mark on it, because it's not paper. I'm not wasting trees. If it's not worth keeping, I just boop, and it's gone off of the tablet. So I've enjoyed that. So I'm just kind of curious where you all are at. And then, if it's not for a project, because obviously if I'm reading a particular book for a project, yeah, I want my notes, my research, and so on. But if I'm just reading to generally better myself, and maybe have a reference of the really key things, I guess I've gotten so... I keep going back and forth between, do I want it on index cards or do I want it in a notebook? And I can't seem to find that happy place there yet. And that gets into my whole, I'm still, at my age, I'm still learning how my brain works. I have found that if I want to remember stuff, I'd better handwrite it, because if I type it, and part of it was attitude, but if I type it, it's not going to stick in my brain. Handwriting actually works better, which was a topic that came up on another video recently. I wish I could remember which one right now. But people were, I don't know what they thought I was saying, but I was talking about how I wish there was a study that talked about the difference between printing and cursive for memory. And I got several comments suggesting there was, but then they would actually talk about typing versus cursive. Like, yeah, I know the typing isn't as good. I actually did a driving video on that. True story. I'll try to remember to put a link to that down below. Of course, nobody knows my catalog. I'm sometimes surprised by comments I get on really old videos. I'm like, really? I made a video on that? So, that's one of the dangers of having quite a large catalog of videos. even with only 7,000 and some subscribers, I I do get views. So, yeah, that was a milestone I recently passed. But anyway, so to wrap this up, because that was very rambly. Should have had a script. But for active reading, where you actually want to have something, and not for a research project, just general, I want to read this to improve my knowledge, or whatever, or improve my life in some way. How do you do it? Highlighter, post-its, underlines, pencil, notes in a notebook, note cards. Let us know down in the comment. And I'm going to send you out with a little more footage from White Butte. This has been smoothed using DaVinci. I may yet start moving toward using DaVinci a bit more as I learn more of its capabilities. I have till, I think, June to decide on that, if I want to abandon Camtasia, which has been my platform for many years. We'll see. But at the very least, DaVinci is proving very helpful for smoothing out rough videos. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching. And if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And I would love to hear your comments about how you take notes about books. Do you highlight? Do you underline? Do you flag? Do you use index cards? Do you use notebooks? Do you use something I haven't thought of? Maybe you talk into your cell phone's audio recorder. Don't know. So please feel free to leave a comment down below. As always, I want to thank you for watching. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.